Alright everybody, welcome to another video. I appreciate you joining me today, and I wanted to go over some things that have been happening in my life recently, some personal stuff, but also just talking about some of the gaming related stuff that I've been going through as far as expos, conventions, and just things in general. So thank you again for joining me, and let's get into it. But yeah, so I've been really focusing lately on a career change, going from one awesome career and starting a brand new aspect of my career. It's taken a while and it's taken a lot of my energy, so that's why I haven't really been posting a whole lot of content just across the board. And YouTube, before I had a lot of things that were just taking up a lot of my time, both actual time but also just my mental energy, and I needed to focus on that. And now I transitioned to a new career essentially, and I get to focus on some more of my personal life, which is great. It's fantastic. I'm really happy about it. But that entire period of time my head was really in the hunt for that new career, for changing up, for reskilling, upskilling, whatever you want to call it. And I didn't put a lot of time actually in the games or a lot of other personal things, and this is kind of my time to do that. It's really for a long time I was kind of staying in my own personal shell and really just focusing on my work and not a whole lot of time or energy in other things. So I feel like I've really had a narrow view of a lot of things, and that's really kind of what I've been doing lately, is really, doing my best to reform some healthy habits, getting better sleep, getting, more energy into my creative outlets and just personal aspects of my life, my family and friends and whatnot. And one of those healthy habits that I wanted to get back into, that I hadn't really done in a long time, is getting back into the world and socializing with people. And that's funny to say because, it really, a lot of that was really kind of sparked on with the whole pandemic side of things. But I never, with my job and everything, a lot of that transitioned to fully remote, and I didn't really need to do a lot of that stuff. And even if I would go to some of these gaming related events, I would be really shy. I'd be really just not, I would be in a shell. I would be in just like a box, and I wouldn't come out of that. Even if I would see people that were familiar to me and really I wanted to interact with them more, I'd be really shy. And that's something that's probably a bit more my personality type in general, but it was reinforced. And that's something that I want to change, and I wanted to do a bit more. So the cool thing is I had an opportunity to do some of that stuff and practice a little bit of that stuff with some expos and some conventions and stuff that came up. The first one I want to talk about is the Raleigh Retro Gamers group actually had I would say probably second annual event in Raleigh at Moore Square, and that was such a great time. I did not get to go to it last year, but it was great. There was a ton of vendors, a lot of things to do. It was pretty warm out, but everybody was in high spirits, and I got to go around and see some familiar faces there, but also meet some new people. And I didn't spend as much time there, but that was kind of my first, I would say my first big event for the year that I got to go to and just kind of go around and see what it was all about and kind of get used to it again. But also the bigger event for the year that I was kind of looking forward to, but I had went last year and I posted a video for it, which was Southeast Game Exchange. I was really looking forward to seeing a lot of awesome people and meeting specific people there and finding out what the convention was about. And because I had such a great time last year, I really wanted to make a point to go to it this year, which I did. But I was a bit hesitant to go this year just because some of the people that I wanted to see weren't coming back, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. I'm not, I have a lot of games around me right here, but there's not a lot of games I've been looking forward to getting because I've kind of moved past a certain phase of my collection where I'm not really looking for specific titles. A lot of the games I want are really expensive, and I'm probably not gonna be getting those because of the pricing and whatnot. I've got most of the games that I really want, and I'll definitely be covering a lot of those coming up and re-diving into my library. But a lot of these expos, you go into it, some of the big events are with the vendors. You go through, you're looking for something specific, and I didn't really have anything specific, not too many things that I was looking for. And I was like, well, I'll just go. I'll make it a point to go this year because I wanna go out and enjoy myself and enjoy, this event again. And who knows what will happen, right? But my main plan of attack for this was to go in through the morning on Saturday, because I only was going to go for one day, and go through all the vendors' spaces and just, see what was around, just kind of go around and do like a once over, maybe go around again just to see if I missed anything. And then at around noon, that's when the panels were to start. Go to about 2 or 3 different panels that I was looking for, and then boogieing out of town and driving home. And so let's go into the highlights of the trip, because there's a few different highlights of the trip that I really didn't expect, but also I thought was a really great, that really kind of made the event for me this time. But yeah, so one of the first things that, as I was going through the show floor, I ran across a nonprofit called Save the Machine. And what was great about them is I saw them at the event last year, but I walked up to the table and they had some great material, but they also had boxes of free books and discounted, untested cards, computer cards. So PCI, ISA, they just had boxes of them. And funny enough, I was going through and with my Pentium build and my Pentium 3 as well, but maybe also my 286, I was kind of in the back of my head, I'm like, let me be on the lookout for a Sound Blaster, an ISA Sound Blaster audio card, just because the audio cards that I have in my system, they're either built in or I kind of settled for them. But I ended up finding a couple of creative ISA sound cards, and one of them ended up being a Sound Blaster 16, and one of them was a Sound Blaster 32, where you can add on RAM for the different wavetables and whatnot. And I was not expecting to find that, but completely untested. It was like $5 a card, so I took a chance. I was like, sure, why not? Let me try that out. I ended up also picking up, I think, a couple of books as well, Sound Blaster book that went with the Sound Blaster 16 and whatnot. But yeah, I was really happy to see them there. And again, I wasn't really looking to pick up anything, but that was kind of what I was in the back of my head kind of looking for, was something like that. So I'm glad I ran into them. But they also had some great displays of some retro computers of many different eras, and they also had some retro games as well. I believe a Dreamcast with Light Gun games. But yeah, so that was awesome. Another highlight for me was meeting some independent developers and publishers. I didn't expect to meet some of them while I was there, but I met Matthew Kersey. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. Sorry, Matt. But he was the sole developer for a game called Strife Sisters for the PC Engine / TurboGrafx. And that was such a great thing, because I walked up to him and nobody was there at the table with him, and I was like, whoa, a new PC Engine game, tell me more about it. And apparently he hasn't really been advertising it much. And so I tried the demo. It was fantastic, a strategy RPG, and he developed pretty much everything himself. And it was fantastic. I can't wait for that to come out and to hear more about it, because I'm all about indie developers and publishers. I don't cover them as much as I want to, but I love retro games that are new games for retro systems, I should say. That's kind of a soft spot I have. And PC Engine and TurboGrafx, I feel like it's not enough love. So yeah, kudos to you, Matt. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing more, and when it's ready, maybe a demo that I can play, because the demo you had there was awesome. But I'd like to try it on my own TurboGrafx, hopefully in the future. But I also met Daniel Hall. He's a sole developer for Limerick Cadence Mansion. That's Limerick Cadence Mansion for PC, and I believe there's a demo on Steam. Fantastic looking game using Unreal Engine. And again, he's a sole developer, but I believe he's got some a couple of artists and whatnot that are helping making assets for him and whatnot. But fantastic looking game. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you, Daniel. And I downloaded the demo and I played it, and it's fantastic. I didn't want to play it there because I wanted to make sure other people were playing it, but we had a great conversation. So thank you so much, and I ended up coming home and playing that. But yeah, thank you. That was fantastic to see. I also met the fine folks over at Premium Edition, and they were selling some great indie Switch games, and I ended up picking one up. One called Mighty Fight Federation, and been really having a lot of fun with that. It was sold to me as kind of a Power Stone, a newer Power Stone, and that's what I'm getting. I love that game, so thank you for the recommendation, and it was definitely a great purchase. I also met some familiar faces through some of the vendors that were there that I've met throughout the years. So the great people over at Lost Art Games in Greensboro, they were there in full force and had some amazing titles there. I always enjoy seeing them out and about, and seeing them at pretty much any event that I go to. I look forward to seeing them there. So they always got some quality games, and so it was great to see them there and to talk with them. And I also got to see Nick and the folks over at Retroid Games and Records over from Winston-Salem. They were there in full force as well. Some amazing titles this time. They had a decent amount of space, I believe, on the floor compared to some of the other people. But yeah, they came with some heavy hitters, and I was very impressed with what they brought in. It was always a great time to see them, even though I had traveled all the way to South Carolina to see some familiar people. It was great to talk with them there and talk about their journey, and just to check in, and it was great. I also saw Mr. Cameron, who is always a staple at North Carolina retro game events. He's always bringing some amazing items and always willing to make a deal. So he's always awesome, and it was great to see him there as well at his booth. But I also got to go around and meet some people that were there as special guests as well, not just on the vendor side of things, but I went around and got to meet John Hancock and 8-Bit Eric. They were both very gracious in person. Regardless of how you feel about them online, I think they were fantastic. We had some great conversations, and they were hosting a panel there, so it was great to see them there and actually get to meet them in person. So thank you for coming out, you two. But I also got to see G to the Next Level, and I met him there last year for the first time. I'd never heard of his content before, met him and have been following ever since, and he remembered me. As soon as I walked up, he's like, "Hey, great to see you," and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." Felt really good about that. And just talked for a few minutes, and then we also later on went to one of his panels. So he was one of the earlier panels. Him and Square Peg had a panel to talk about Sega RPGs, and that was very enjoyable, very well produced. So kudos to those two for doing that. But speaking of people as well, so my plan was really kind of put into motion, but I really just kind of threw that to the wind once I started really getting the vibe of how everything was everybody was there, and I got to just kind of go with the flow. And even though I usually like to stick to a plan, I kind of just diverted from that. All right, everybody, I'm over here at Southeast Game Exchange. It's been a complete blast so far. Met a lot of great people. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the panels in the afternoon. Yeah, this is really a fantastic time. Met some familiar faces, some people I saw from last year, like Jita Next Level. He's been doing great, and it was great to see him. John Hancock, 8-Bit Eric, fantastic people to meet in person. So yeah, really having fun, and yeah. So after that first panel that I went to, actually met up with some of the people over at Raleigh Retro Gamers Group. So Jeff and Chase, got to meet up with them right after, and Heather as well. And then Jeff and Chase and I, we actually stuck around for, it was a while, it was a good hour just talking with YouTube personality Gamer Aimer, and it was my first time meeting her as well. And again, very gracious, very awesome conversation. She's always looking for some great display art as well, and store fixtures. So we had some great conversations around that. But yeah, she had a lot of great insight and just an overall amazing person. And yeah, it was very enjoyable, and I'm always looking forward to her content. So thank you for being so awesome in person. So also to continue on, there were a lot of great things at the show for people of all ages. There were arcade machines to play with and displays. There were tournaments. There were free play of a lot of different consoles and games. There was lots of figures and pop culture, just, merchandise, and 3D printed items were there, handcrafted items. Lots of great things to do, and it wasn't all, a lot of times you could go to these conventions and see just kind of the same stuff popping up, but there was a lot of unique items there, and I was very tempted to spend a lot of money there on things that I probably shouldn't. But yeah, it's always great to back these people that are creating their own art, creating their own works, and putting themselves out there. And that's kind of, one of the great things about this event that I think really sealed the deal for me. I wasn't expecting to go there and have as much fun as I did this year, but I did. I had a blast because I really focused on the people and putting myself out there. And even though I didn't have a giant haul, where some people were going there to make deals and come home with a lot of stuff, that wasn't really what I was looking for. And I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I was really looking for making that connection with people, either reconnecting or making new connections. And that's what I got. And it was such a great event to do that for. I would say, because the event itself was really set up to be accessible. The people that are special guests or YouTubers or vendors or whatever, it was so easy to just go up and talk to everybody. It felt like such a small town convention, but in a bigger venue and with bigger names and bigger personalities. And it felt really good to do that. It wasn't, you didn't have to pay a lot of money to go there and just to get a signature or autograph from somebody. It was very awesome to be a part of it. And I hope that Southeast Game Exchange continues that trend, because I will keep going back just to be a part of that type of culture and community that, I believe that we really need as gamers and as a culture. Is really accessibility, is being able to go up and meet people that you only have seen on YouTube and have only seen online, or seen their content, or have played their games. Or you want to discover somebody new who's making a new game or publishing a new game. And that is something that I'm really looking forward to next year, and I'm so glad I got to have this year. But yeah, it really was fantastic, and I appreciate everybody who went out of their way to say hi to me. And I actually was able to give my first YouTube autograph, which is kind of cool. So that blew me away as well. I just hit only 400 subscribers, and I appreciate all of you for subscribing. I don't usually put it out there that way, but it really makes me feel connected when I get to make content like this and reach out to people that might be like-minded or might want to see an insight into who I am and what I do and what I enjoy, and I want to make that connection with you as well. So who knows, maybe if I connect and I keep on doing what I'm doing here, maybe I'll see you all at next year's Southeast Game Exchange myself. Maybe I'll get a little table. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing ideas out there, but who knows? I'm definitely not big enough for that, but I think it'll be fun. I like meeting people as well. It's so that's really great. But yeah, it has become one of my most anticipated events of all year. So I'm looking forward to next year, which I believe they've already put the dates down. But yeah, Southeast Game Exchange was fantastic, and yeah. So again, I appreciate everybody for your input on this channel, for subscribing, for commenting, and for the real life events, the events that I get to actually meet people at. That's such a great time. And even though I don't collect as much, I don't buy as much new stuff, because I've really kind of hit that point where I'm looking for something else. I'm not looking for the same old stuff. I'm looking for new connections and new experiences and people to share that with, and I think that's why I like those events so much. But yeah, I hope to see you all at the next events that are out. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day. Take care and game on.